Our next guest is the real inspiration behind hit shows like CSI, Crossing Jordan. They call her the compassionate coroner. Please welcome, with her new book, Forever Ours, forensic pathologist Dr. Janis Amatuzio.
Good to have you with us.
Hi.
Thank you.
All right, we were talking earlier, Helen, and this was so interesting about CSI really opening up what you do to everyone, giving them a sense of what goes on.
Absolutely. Shows like CSI and Crossing Jordan and Law and Order have really given the public a view into what we do. And it's such important work. We're really there to speak for the dead. And one of the things that CSI and all of those wonderful shows do is let people know that it's really a team effort, that it takes all sorts of professionals trying to get at the truth, trying to speak for the dead, and figure out what happened.
We've all heard stories of people who thought they were dying and did my body hovered above my body on an operating table, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But you speak to that for real.
Well, I started calling families on non-criminal cases, not homicides, but on all the other cases, to just let family members know what I'd found, much like a surgeon coming out of an operating room and talking to family. And occasionally families would tell me about a dream or a vision or a synchronicity, something that had occurred that really let them know that there was still a connection with their loved one, that just perhaps, there was something else going on here.
Tell us about that synchronicity that you're talking about. I know one story where a woman was on a plane, her father was dying, and he said, no, you need to go to that conference, you go ahead and go.
And she was on the plane, she's a physician colleague of mine, and she said she was all of a sudden at 4:20 in the afternoon overwhelmed with such a sense of peace. She just couldn't understand it. She didn't even open the book that she had on the plane. And later when she got off the plane, she realized that was the exact moment that her father had died. So you know, there's something we don't know, the knowing of which would change everything.
And her sister?
And her sister had the exact same experience in an elevator 1,000 miles away, where the elevator stopped between floors, the lights flipped up and down and up and down, and then went on.
You can't do it. See, the little hairs on the back of my neck are standing straight up.
I know it. I think it's a real kick that here I am, a forensic pathologist who has to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, and testify to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. I am here talking with you and all of your audience saying, you know, there's some things we really don't know.
But how long did it take you to actually admit this to people? Was it a while? Because your colleagues said keep it to yourself,
Oh, yes.
right?
They said don't say anything. You'll be laughed off the forensic planet. For me, these stories I observed really comforted people. They made them feel better. They helped them, as one lady said, it didn't stop my grief, but it eased my pain. And it helped me realize that someday I'll see my son again. For me, when September 11th, 2001 happened, I decided it wasn't about me anymore, that it was time to put this book out, to put these stories out. And I've never published a book before. I'm a real good forensic pathologist, but I don't write books. I just haven't done this before. But I thought it just might help people be comforted.
Well, I understand that when you decided to write this book, you said, I'm just going to self-publish it and put it in the hospital gift shop.
Gift shop, yes.
And now...
Well, that happened, and I had no extra publicity, and we sold like 15,000 copies. And then this was picked up by New World Library in September, and many people are finding it comforting.
All right, now I know most of the stories are heartfelt,
yes.
99%. Are any humorous? I see these shows where you open up the morgue little drawer thing, and the guy's still alive. Any of that ever happened?
Actually, yes. There's one of the very first stories I ever heard was a man who had left his body after an operation. When I was an intern, he was telling me this. I was starting an IV on him at 3 in the morning. He told me how he left his body. He was watching the resuscitation, and he said, Doc, you're not going to believe this, but the guy in the bed next to me, he had a cardiac arrest. And I looked at him and I said, what happened then? He said, well, he left his body too, right through the top of his head, and was he surprised to see me? And I said, well, what did the two of you do? He said, we watched. And when we couldn't communicate with them, we left. But he said, it was an astonishing experience, and he said, there's no fear. He said, it is the most natural, normal thing. And when I spoke with him at the end of his story, I said, tell me, has it changed your life in any way? He said, absolutely. He said, I have no fear. He said, we don't die. We just simply go on.
Well, and that same man, I understood, could hear the thoughts of what people, and he heard like a nurse was having problems, and he could hear her thinking.
Well, it wasn't that she was having problems. When the second cardiac arrest happened, she was angry because she had a hot date right after work, and she didn't want to be there. I got to tell you, it's really made me try to keep my thoughts focused in the morgue.
I've got to ask you this.
That's funny.
After you land, are you afraid to die?
No, I'm not. No, not at all. I got to tell you, I think I was in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, they say when you look closely enough, you start to look right through it.
Well, with your stories, you could probably perform your own.
Oh, man, I tell you, I know that what we do as forensic pathologists is try to speak for the dead, but I really hope I just die peacefully in bed as a little old lady.
That's many, many years from now, but this book, we've got to tell people, Forever Yours. Forever Ours, excuse me. You're going to get, the hairs are going to stand up. That's all I'm saying. It's an incredible
fascinating
book.
stuff.
Doctor, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All the information of the book will be on our website, katu.com.
Thank you.